Yeah, we went to
Come here, sorry.
I'm good.
What's your name?
For racism is real. We have to accept that it is there. It happens. Whether just because we don't see it doesn't mean that it's not there.
Get ready for the Truth Talk, where we tackle life's most pressing issues. Join us as we explore universal challenges and seek solutions that transcend borders.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is your God again, Lisa Mwangi on the Truth Talk. And I'm so excited because now Truth Talk all the way to the UK. Let me find out. I don't even know him. I don't know him. So let me find out who I have today. Yeah, please, Karibu, welcome. Tell
Thank
my
you.
viewers who you are, where you come from. Yeah, let them know who you are.
Thank you. I don't even know her name either, but we'll go along with this. Thank you very much. First of all, I am grateful to be here. I don't take it for granted. It's only by God's grace that we do what we do and we are where we are. The name is, I'll begin with the name you don't know. The name you don't know is John Baraza Namunyu. But the name everybody knows is Balozi Baraza. And that's, there's a long story behind it. We'll unravel it as we go along. But I've traveled with my son. He's behind the camera. His name is Joel. He's a fantastic guy.
Wow.
Once you get to know him, you get to discover. I think I can safely say that I've slowly rediscovered myself by studying him.
Wow.
So it's good to be here, and I'm grateful to be here. And thank you for having me on the show.
Yeah, thank you. Before we move on, what is that you have rediscovered?
My dream.
Your dream.
Yes.
Nice.
Because sometimes, and this I picked up from the late Dr. Miles Monroe, that sometimes life does get in the way. We all have a dream when we are born. When we come onto this planet, we are all packaged with gifts. God does not do waste. Nobody can say that they were born without a gift.
Wow.
Because it is within the law of creation that everything that is created has a gift in it. That's why mangoes have seeds. And those seeds produce plantations.
Yes.
Apples, oranges, every kind of fruit. Same thing with human beings. Animals have their seed. Human beings have their seed. So human beings, we are very special in the sense that apart from the rhythm that we share with the rest of creation, that we carry seed within us, as in children and grandchildren and so on. There's something that people need to realize, that
Yes.
God has given to us that he has not given to the rest of the creation.
Yes.
And that is the ability to create.
The ability to create.
And each one of us, the seed and the gift that we carry with us when we come into being is the ability to create.
Wow.
So some of us have the ability to create buildings.
Yes.
Others have the ability to create cars.
Yes.
The ability to create wonderful music.
Yes.
To create poetry. To create communities.
Yes.
To create political spaces. We all have these gifts within us. But it's upon us to find it.
Wow.
We have to find it.
We have to find it.
We have to find it because it's not out there. It's within us.
Okay. And why do many people have difficulty in finding it? Or they take a longer period of time in finding it than it should?
Because like myself, they do not know who they are.
Wow.
For you to find your gift, you have to find who you are. You have to take time and know who you are and why you're here.
Who you are and why you're here.
Let me give a very good example,
Yes.
or a very small example. You know, we spend, because within a very short time, we become creatures of society. We become conditioned, and we bend to the laws of society, depending on where you grew up. The community you grew up in is what shapes a lot of our thinking, a lot of our actions, a lot of our decisions, and so on. And in some cases, if your gifting is not aligned with those social values that surround you, that gift can be lost in translation.
Wow.
So you're living a life that is based on trying to fit in with everybody else. And if we're not very careful, we lose that element of being individual. And sometimes we might have to fight very hard to retain that identity. It might mean having to say no to important people in our lives.
Okay.
It might have to mean being a rebel in some case. Rebel in the sense that that's a term that is imposed upon you simply because you think differently, or you are following whatever your dream or your vision is asking you to do, or it is leading you.
Okay. Okay.
So you'll find that when we conform, and the Bible is very clear. You know, in Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2, that therefore, dear brethren, offer yourselves as living sacrifices to God, for this is your honorable act of worship.
Yes.
Verse 2 is very categorical. It says, do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world,
Yes.
but be ye transformed by the renewal of your mind, so that you may be able to ascertain the good and perfect will of God.
Wow. It seems now it's as if we've gotten into the interview, but I have to go back first because we will need to know. I have to go back to the introduction.
Beginning.
Yes.
Okay.
We actually need to know, who is John Baraza? Who is Baraza or Balozi? Who are you?
Right.
Yeah.
I was born with the names John Baraza Namonyo.
Yes.
I tell a lot of people, and I think if you go back to my interview with Anthony Mwirori, a very, very dear brother and friend of mine, with an unbroken friendship of 30 years, I was born without a birth certificate. I tell these people and they laugh. I was born without a birth certificate. Okay. My birth certificate followed me when I was around 3 or 4 years of age.
Okay.
So I was born in a village in Western Kenya. For those who are familiar with Bungoma, Webuye, it's a small village called Kakimanyi.
Kakimanyi.
So I was born to two parents. One was, at the time, was an untrained teacher, and my mother was a housewife. So shortly after I was born, they decided to become church ministers, and so they joined the Salvation Army as church ministers, and they have served for over 25 years in unbroken service. They retired a couple of years back. So I was born in a village. Most of my life I grew up in the Salvation Army. I grew up as a Salvation Army child, and that alone had an impact because it meant moving around a lot. My parents were moved so many times during their service with the Salvation Army Church. And the advantage of that is that we got to meet new people, we got to make new connections, we got to make new friends everywhere we went. The downside was that we never settled.
Okay.
So we never actually had the opportunity to grow in a consistent environment like many other young people would who are not living in that environment. And that contributed a lot to us quickly learning to be survivors, because moving around means that our school grades were affected. It meant that we never kept friends for very long. It meant that we didn't see our parents that much because of their ministry.
Yes.
They were always out. They were serving the community more. So they spent more time out there with the community or the congregation members than they did with us. We had to learn to fend for ourselves to a certain point, because when they are not there to look after us, we have to look out for each other.
Okay.
And that was a life that we were used to up to the time that I left high school.
Wow.
Even during high school, I would say it was a bit of a plateau. We settled a little bit, because when they were stationed at the Salvation Army headquarters in Nairobi, the turbulence was less, because, and again, I was in a boarding school. They put me in a boarding school, so it was easier for me if they had to move, and that's the reason. That's part of the reason I was put in a boarding school, because should they move, then my education would not have to be impacted as much as it would if I was moving around with them. Yeah, so I grew up as a church minister's son, and because of that, there were things I could not get myself out of. I had to join the choir, because as a child's minister, what are you doing? So you can sitting down. Yes, I can sing terribly, but still sing. As a result of that, I became introduced to music. Apart from singing, playing instruments, I became introduced to playing the brass bands, because the Salvation Army is well known for brass bands. And that is where I think I began to find my escape, because I began to express myself through instruments, begin to express myself through music. And I also developed a very deep passion for scripture, because I think they say that an apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So that environment of being surrounded by the scripture, being surrounded by preaching and teaching and so on, and particularly my mother was very good at that. My father was more of an evangelist. You know, he was this hard-hitting, hammering the gospel. Yes. You know, because he grew up in an environment where he himself also was surrounded by people who were hardcore unbelievers. So he had to develop a way of countering that through his ministry. My mother was more of a counselor and more of a soft preacher. And I think my son Joel knows his grandmother. I don't think she's lost that touch. She's still as gentle as she is, even in retirement. So I picked up gifts from both sides. My dad was more of an instrument player. My mom was more of a singer. So, and I'm the first of 5 children. I have 3 sisters and 1 brother. Nice, nice. 2 of which live in Canada at this point in time. 2 sisters, the one that follows me, her name is Rebecca. The one that follows after is Ruth. She's in Nairobi. She works there with a security company. Followed by Rispa. She lives in Canada as well. And then the last one being James, who lives in Western Kenya. He's the one looking after my parents at the moment. Nice. Yes. Thank you so much. But when did you move to the UK? I came to the UK in 2006, February 2006. Oh, yes. So that's how many years now? Is it 18? Roughly 18, 19? 17, 18 years, I think. Yeah. Yes. Oh, wow. Okay, nice. Yeah. How can you tell a newcomer that is coming or who wants to go to the UK right now or who is planning to go to the UK? What does this person has to think about when it comes to the do's, the don'ts? How can they go in and come into the system and feel safe? Well, the first thing I would say to them is, why are you coming? find out. I mean, be clear. Why are you coming? You're not just coming because you want to leave Kenya, because you want to leave Africa. Be clear with your goal, because that is the immigration of authorities will see right through that. So once you're clear about what your goal is, once you're clear about where you're going and why, that is the first major victory that you will have if you're very clear about and you know that you can confidently qualify that before any authority. It is very important. And the reason I'm saying this is because during the time that I've been in the UK, I've been getting a lot of emails. Oh, bro, why don't you make me a connection? That means nothing to me. That means nothing to me. Because what does connection mean? You know? You've not even said what you're after. Why do you want to come? You know? And sometimes when I tell people that, they think I'm being mean. They think I'm just being harsh. Or, oh, you're just trying to kind of, you know. But the reality is this. You, like everything else in life, whether you're building a house, whether you're looking for a job, whether you're looking to get married, whether you're looking to go to the moon, whatever it is, anything in life, you're going to have a purpose to it.
Yes.
And that purpose has to be very clear.
Yes.
And the reason we have to have a purpose to everything we do is that it enables the environment around you to support you.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Because if you're not clear about where you're going and all you're talking about is, I want to go, I want to go, I want to go.
Okay. Talk to the people who are already clear. They know why they are going. They have a reason. Why am I going to the UK? So what do you have to tell them?
Once you're clear about your goal, you're clear about the reason behind that purpose, then you have to do something that we call structure. You have to structure your strategy. Number one, if it is a job that you have identified in the UK, have you done your research to find that you're eligible for that job?
Okay.
Because we live in an age where it makes no sense whatsoever to assume that you will be employed in a job, number one, you have not even applied for. Number two, you have not worked out whether you will whether you have been accepted for that job or not. And number three, whether there's demand for those jobs. Because you find that, and this is why I find nurses are very fortunate in that regard, in the sense that there will always be invitations from governments, whether it's in the UK or other European countries, you know, and they send, even in the US, and they'll send agencies to Africa or Kenya to recruit, you know, that shows that there's demand.
Yes.
Any other professions or jobs that are not within that category where there's no demand, and it happens to be that that's the job that you want to go for, we have to be realistic.
Yes.
And we have to accept the reality for what it is. If you are exceptionally talented, because we do have GP, like doctors who come from India, doctors who come from Indonesia, doctors who come even from Africa, Nigeria, who meet the criteria and sometimes are even above the threshold. So it becomes so much easier for them to take up those positions. But the thing is, most governments, and I don't know about, you know, the government in Sweden or any other Scandinavian countries or in the EU, but I know for one, in the UK government, the first thing they will do is that they will ask, do we have demand for these jobs?
Yes.
And whichever way they answer that question is what they will feed through the embassies.
Yeah.
So you want to be, let me just say, you want to come to the UK to be a makeup artist. So you want to Now, the government will ask itself, do we have demand? Do we have demand for that? Or do we have that locally?
Yes.
You know? If we have demand for nurses, those opportunities will open up. At the moment, as we speak, there's demand for healthcare assistants.
Yeah.
You know, people who are not nurses, people who are not doctors, but they work with their caregivers.
Yes.
And there's demand for those jobs. So all you need to do is just fit within the criteria that will put you in a position to take up that position.
Yes.
You see?
Wow. Wow. That's good. Wow. Thank you for informing us, because actually that is what Truth Talk is all about. We create awareness and we give information.
Yes.
But I still have another question when it comes to the Kenyan community in the UK. How is it?
It's diverse.
Wow.
It's quite diverse. No two communities are the same. We're all Kenyans.
Yes.
And we all speak Kenyan.
Yeah.
In the sense that we all have the same, you know, national values and everything. But you'll find that it just depends on what is it that has brought you together.
Okay.
What is your common identity? Okay. So you'll find that there's some groups that will come together because of funerals and weddings only. Don't talk to us about anything else.
Yes. So.
Funerals and weddings. Then you'll find there will be groups, and they have been there for many years. They have really, really come a long way. And they have their own internal politics.
Okay.
Then you'll have groups that come together to say that now we want to go beyond matanga and harusis.
Yes.
We want to think about now, how do we help one another? How do we help each other build back home? How do we help each other develop back home? Okay. A lot of people, me included, when we came to the UK, we had nothing. We came just with a suitcase and a paper bag, you know, and a dream. That's all we had.
Exactly.
So you find that unless you are open-minded and you're forward-thinking, that's all you'll ever become after 20 or 30 years. But then you'll find that there's groups of Kenyans who come together and they say, okay, apart from living in this country for this long, what can we do?
Yes.
To establish ourselves back home. Even if I don't do anything for myself, I left people back home who will need to develop. And if I can't do it for myself, let me do it for my parents.
Yes.
At least let me build my parents a house. Let me build myself a holiday home so that when I go back home to visit, I'm not hanging about in on somebody's sofa all the time. You know? So there'll be groups that will be thinking around that. As we speak right now, I know there's a group called Kenyan Women in the US. And it's headed by this fantastic lady. I think, what's her name again? Lily Richards. And as we speak, that group, I think they're about 10,000 in number.
Wow.
Women, Kenyan women.
Wow.
In the US, 10,000 Kenyan women. And they've split themselves into chapters. And what they've done is that they have banded together and they've bought an entire estate. In fact, they have not bought, they have built an entire estate.
Wow. In the UK?
So, no, in Kenya.
In Kenya, okay.
So what they did is that they built a partnership with a real estate developer.
Yes.
Who would supply the land, who would build the houses, and who would hand them the keys when it's ready.
Wow.
So if there'll be among them those who want the houses for themselves.
Yes.
There'll be among them those who want the houses to rent out as income. But the idea was that we come together to do something together that will create value, not just for ourselves, but also for our children and for those around us.
Nice. Wow.
In the UK, I know there's groups that there'll be groups who have not come, you know, they're not in the public eye so much, but they've managed to do the same, but on a lower scale.
Yes, yes.
So I would say that's why I began by saying it's diverse in the sense that it depends on what brought you together.
Yes.
Because I know there's a group of women whose passion is not even to develop. Their passion is just to meet,
And have fun.
drink chai,
Yes.
kula mandazi, and go on holidays. And that for them, that is achieving.
Yes.
You know? So for me, that's not particularly my cup of tea, because I don't see any value in it. But for them, depending on where their journey has taken them and how far it has brought them to that level, that's what they love doing.
Wow. Wow.
So we have to respect that. You know,
Exactly.
we might have our opinions on it, but that's how it is.
Yeah.
So it will be different. So, and then there's groups also that come together on the basis of what they like to do in their free time. There's a small group in Liverpool. They call themselves the amazing walkers. So they do walking.
Okay.
You know, so they every now and then they hold events, walking events. So they walk in parks as families. So what basically the idea is that through the walking, the families within that group, the children get to play together.
Yes, yes.
They get to make friends.
Yes.
They get to network.
Yes.
Even the adults in that group get to gossip and they get to kind of unwind and just have a good time. So the diversity is quite, you know, it's built on different layers. And then also there's this other model of coming together that is called the Kenya and Friends in the Park. I don't know whether you attended the last one.
No.
So this
but I've seen that.
Yes, so this is an initiative that was created by a lady called Lydia Tet Olet. And basically, the model is that you create a park event.
Yes.
In that park event, there'll be so much happening. There'll be networking. There'll be a lot of exhibitions happening. Companies that are selling land or offering products from, you know, that would be of interest to our Kenyans in the diaspora.
Yes.
Would come and do the exhibitions.
Yes.
There'll be opportunities for young people to get to hear Swahili being spoken.
Yes.
Because a lot of them, especially those who are born in the diaspora, don't get the benefit of speaking the language. And one of the reasons the event was created was to kind of make it easier for parents to introduce that to their children. Yes. By kind of jump-starting the process.
I see there's a lot happening in the UK. Oh my God!
But there's a lot happening in Norway, in Sweden as well.
But that's a bunch of it.
We're just admiring, and in fact, we felt like we are now in Mecca. We have arrived. We have arrived. This Sweden we've been dreaming about. We've been saying, when will it happen? Will it ever happen?
But then how do you feel?
I love it.
In Swedish weather.
I want to move.
You want to move?
I want to move.
Okay, thank God.
I want to move.
But Balozi, anyways, what do you do yourself? You. What do you do?
So I'm a bit of a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
That's what I tell people. When I first came to the UK, all my qualifications went through the window because they were not recognized.
Okay. Okay.
So I had to start from scratch. And for some people, depending on where you find the opportunity, that's where you will begin. I know friends who came and began as taxi drivers, and they've been taxi driving for all those years. Okay. And that's their station in life. I know people who came and they ended up in the hospitality sector, and that's their station in life. When I came as a trained hotel management trainee. Okay. I was training to be a hotel manager because I was in the hospitality sector for a while in Kenya. When I arrived, it was culture shock in the sense that the market was already flooded. Yeah. I was a nobody. So I'm trying to fight in a sea full of sharks. Okay. So, many people don't know this. One of the things that culture shock does to somebody, it doesn't matter who you are. If you do not know where you're going, it's very easy to slip into depression. Racism is real. We have to accept that it is there. It happens. Whether just because we don't see it doesn't mean that it's not there. But we have to develop that awareness, and we have to develop the tools that will work for us in working with regard to that. As a person myself who has experienced racism, the kind of racism I have experienced would be different from the kind of racism somebody else will say. There'll be people who say that the kind of racism they felt is like direct ones, like direct insults as to the color of your skin and everything. The kind of racism I felt, and I experienced this more when I started working as a taxi driver. They will be asking you, where are you from? And then you'll tell them the neighborhood you live in. No, where do you come from originally? And it's how are you supposed to feel about that? You have been living in that country for 10, 15, 20 years. You've been contributing to the economy of that country. You've been paying your taxes. You've raised your children there. You have been contributing to society. You've been part and parcel of the community. And then there's this question that comes to you: where are you from originally? Or sometimes when the political atmosphere is quite volatile, you'd find, some of these fringe groups will have supporters who will go around saying, when they see a black person, they say, go back home. Where does go back home mean? I've lived here 25 years. This has been my home. So what I would say is that for people who experience that, I know there's a lot of people who have been through it and they found a way to deal with it.
Yes.
One way is don't take it personally.
Don't take it personally.
Because if you take it personally, then it will begin to eat into you.
Yes.
And it will just ruin your life. Don't take it personally, but at the same time, take it seriously.
Yeah.
In the sense that don't take it personally, as in don't allow it to harm you, but do not be ignorant of what can happen or of how far it can go if you don't, number one, learn to keep yourself safe.
Yes.
One of the easiest ways I discovered to avoid, we cannot avoid it entirely 100%.
Yes, yes.
But one way that one of the ways you can minimize contact with such things is, number one, look, the company you keep is very important. The people you hang around is very important. Number two, the environments you expose yourself to. Working as a taxi driver is very difficult in the sense that how do you escape? This person is in the back of your car. It's a 30-minute drive. So you can't escape it.
Yes.
So one way you can deal with that is don't take it personally.
Yes.
But also try and develop a thick skin, which is not easy. I mean, it's easier said than done.
Yes.
But it is very important that we teach ourselves and our children to be resilient
Okay.
in the face of such situations and such environments. We have lived on a continent that is rife with tribalism.
Yeah.
So we cannot come out here and pretend that we do not know what racism is.
Yeah.
The same impact that tribalism will have on people on the African continent is not very much different from the impact that racism will have on us in the diaspora.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the stigma, whatever color you might want to call it, is the same.
Amen. Oof, that's true. That's true.
So if you had coping mechanisms to deal with tribalism, then you can develop coping mechanisms to deal with racism. And one of the ways that you can do that is to focus on why you're here.
Why you're here.
What have you come to achieve?
Nice.
That should be your goal. And if it is not your goal, develop a goal.
Wow. Yes.
Develop a goal that will keep you busy, that will keep you focused, that will keep you narrowed down to bringing value to yourself and to the people that are within your community.
Nice.
Because it's easy to get lost. We have a lot of, we lose so many young people.
Yes.
Especially in London because of stabbing. And you find a lot of it is racially related. And our young people have not, and sometimes it could be us, our fault as parents. We have not embedded in them or helped them to develop the toolkits, social skills that they need to handle themselves around such environments without getting into a crisis. And I think as a community, we have a duty to do that.
Yes,
it's not a one man's mission. No. It's not a one man's job. It's a collective thing.
Yes.
In fact, right now, I just say it's a diaspora thing.
Wow. Oh, that's very important.
Because racism will exist in the diaspora, whether you're in Sweden, whether you're in Norway, whether you're in New York, whether you're in London or Liverpool. It will exist.
It will exist. It's true.
If we want our community to be resilient and to move forward, this generation and the next and the one after, we have to think collectively.
Wow.
Because there'll be things that I may be lacking that my friends in Sweden will have better experience in. I can learn from that.
Yes.
There'll be things that my friends in Norway will be lacking. And for me, it's easy peasy.
Yes.
I can deal with that.
Exactly.
That collective working as a diaspora. And I'm not talking about these political collectives that we are seeing coming up, among the diaspora. We have all these parties and all these political groupings and outfits that are trying to come up in the name of trying to bring the diaspora together. That's not what I'm talking about. It's a very separate conversation. What I'm talking about is the social capital that we share as a diaspora community. We need to tap into that.
Yes.
And we need to make it work.
Wow. I believe my viewers can agree with me that they need more of this. And I know you have a lot to pour out. Balozi, you have a lot to pour out, but time is not in our hand. So today we'll have to end it there. And I know we'll have a part 2, we'll have a part 3 and 4 and 5. Yeah, but before we end the show, can you just look at the camera and give us your last shot?
My last shot is a scripture. To the one that pleases God,
yes,
he gives wisdom, knowledge, and happiness.
Amen.
But to the sinner, he gives the task of gathering and storing wealth to hand it over to the one that pleases God. You want to be prosperous? Focus on pleasing God.
Wow. I can't even add anything there. As it was said, that is perfectly said. Thank you so much, Balozi. Truth Talk, we are grateful. We are very happy that you sat there and you pour out your heart and the wisdom that God has given you to the community, to our viewers, to the world, everybody who is watching you. And we thank everybody who has been following us, watching our videos. Keep on watching, keep on liking, share, and subscribe. And God will bless you. For now, I just say pose or crumb. That is a kiss and a hug just for you. Bye.
Get ready for the Truth Talk, where we tackle life's most pressing issues. Join us as we explore universal challenges and seek solutions that transcend borders.